Good day, everyone. I'm Angela, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar, Credentialing and Provider Enrollment 102. Please note that you are placed in listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. Also, this webinar will be made available for purchase in the form of DVD, e-transcript, and recorded link as the session is being recorded. I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Yesenia Servin. Yesenia Servin CPMSM, PESC is an expert in credentialing and provider payer enrollment with over 24 years of experience in the healthcare industry. Yesenia has a deep understanding of Medicare and Medicaid enrollment and is a nationally certified credentialing manager and provider enrollment specialist. Yesenia manages payer enrollment, keeps team members and colleagues up to date on industry trends, and is a liaison to all departments that impact payer enrollment processes. Yesenia is a current Charter Oak University faculty, NAMSS member, and is a current and past NAMSS Educational Conference speaker, a current trainer for the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and a TMG collaborator. Yesenia studied microeconomics and communications at NEIU and healthcare administration at Concordia University, Chicago. I would now like to hand over the flow to the speaker. Over to you, Yesenia.
So let's go ahead and jump in. So we are going to try to touch each of these items today. Like I said, 102 is a big, huge chunk of information, right? The whole entire focus of credentialing and enrollment is that we are putting patients first. And the way that we do that as credentialing and enrollment professionals is by making sure that our practitioners are going through the credentialing process and going through the enrollment process, because that process confirms that they are going to provide quality services to the population. I just wanted to share some numbers with you. In Medicare, these are numbers from 2024 that Medicare provided. This is how much was spent on healthcare services. And so today's topic, one of the first ones we're going to dive into for 102 is how Medicare enrollment works. So this is how Medicare works. We have to use an 855. So let's start here actually. U.S. healthcare for CMS, provider can mean an entity or provider can mean individual. So whether it's an entity or an individual, an 855 needs to be completed. And an 855 is via PICO. This is for the DME. So if you're working with DMEs, there's only 2 assigned max. So some Medicare policy updates that have recently been implemented. This is some deactivation information. So what happens, this is important for you to know. So I want to make sure that you have the most updated information as we're going through this credentialing 102. One thing, if you work with hospices, you will have certification requirements. There's a lot of lists to very specific type of entities. So some revisions were made, nothing to be too stressed out about. But the list is here to tell you exactly what the information was. Again, with an 855A and an 855B, you want to make sure that the managing employee information you've listed is accurate. More current updates. These are specific to nursing homes. So any of you working with nursing homes, you really want to review those updates. So CMS told us back in 2023 that it's all integrated in one. This one is huge, okay? I need you to understand this part of it, the EFT agreement. This EFT must match exactly as what is listed on that entity's IRS letter. Marriage and family therapists and mental health counselors started to be allowed to become Medicare practitioners. Since the 1980s, they were not allowed. And you'll find more details at these links. So for right now, telehealth, this is big, has been expanded to September. So reporting changes, and more recently, the MACs are getting very strict with following these rules and these guidelines. So I do get a lot of questions, and you probably do too, as who can be listed as an authorized official, delegated official. This is also important for you to list correctly, and these are the guidelines that they've provided. Who can sign off on the enrollment application? These are questions that you have to ask your entity. Providers who do not want to enroll with Medicare, they have an opt-out. It is not mandatory. Let's talk about the survey and certification. So for entities, when there's a new location, when there's a new development, is required to do an on-site survey. Those MACs are still scheduling on-site surveys. Revalidation. So revalidations have come back and they are in full effect. And so you have to make sure you're checking your list on a quarterly basis. So depending on the type of provider, it's 3 to 5 years. So make sure you're marking that. This is just more information on Medicare and provider enrollment. Heavy information. So please review on your own time. NPES, as a credentialing and enrollment specialist, it is your responsibility to maintain the provider's NPES. So every month there are 39,000 updates to the NPES profiles, and there are new NPIs of 57,000. A lot of different updates happened with NPES. One of the bigger ones was PO boxes are accepted now as a personal mailbox. This is already what we've talked about in PICOs, just more information for you to have. Again, this coming directly from CMS, right? So this is not like what Yesenia said. This is what Yesenia is giving you from CMS directly. The other big news that just came out this month is that PICOS 2.0 is on hold. And then Medicaid is very specific for each state, right? So this is what CMS says directly about Medicaid. So the Children's Health Care Plan, fee for service, there's managed care plans. You have to check all of this information, again, compared to your state. And this is for you to review on your own time. Medicaid, these are some requirements from the CMS, which is the fingerprint information for owners and partners, and it applies to these type of entities. One thing that happens with Medicaid and Medicare is that they always continuously monitor. This is just gives you a general idea of how CMS and Medicaid share the information. One thing that I'd like you to implement after today is that implement a discovery phase when you're talking to those entities that you're working with. As you know, this is a big one. You are still required, you as an individual credentialing and enrollment specialist are still required to maintain all of these portals and profiles if you are the credentialing and enrollment specialist. Another important thing to know as a 102 credentialing specialist is what the difference is between a delegated agreement and what it is for so let's go through it. We talked about Medicare. We dove deep into what the 855 is for individuals, what it is for entities. We talked about the difference of opting out, the difference of making sure that you are going to the source directly and not asking your friend and not asking your colleague to confirm something for you. You're going to confirm it yourself by talking to that payer directly. NPES and your responsibilities to the NPES and all the other profiles, your discovery phase goals, CAQH, this is some small snippets that I included in here. This is something that you want to make sure that you're including your information on if they should be contacting you for anything credentialing and enrollment. For 102, this is big. I need you to understand what the NCQA is, right? Who they are, what they do, because you can use this knowledge when you dive into it even more. You can use it on your day-to-day work. The NCQA sets the standard for health plans. This is huge. I want you to understand this. This is another big one that you should know. If you're at 102 credentialing, that means you should already know this. They are the ones who set the taxonomy code set. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to join our next sessions, which is 103, which is a full deep dive into CAQH. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Yesenia. That concludes our session. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now and have a great day.